Every Anzac Day, we're invited to reflect on the hardship, heroism and sacrifice it takes to keep our country safe and free. For over 100 years, Australians of all backgrounds and beliefs have answered their nation's call to serve. Some of them have given their lives. Others carry wounds, seen and unseen, yet remain resolute. On Anzac Day, as a nation, we thank them for their service. It's a day when we pause to reflect on lived values. One of the reasons we serve is for family. I'd like to speak about one Australian family, the Saunders, one of the millions of families affected by war. Chris Saunders was coaching a football team in Victoria when he answered the call. He enlisted as a machine gunner at the start of the First World War. He earned $6 bob a day, sending most of it home to support his family. Chris's brother, Reginald, also signed up, but was sadly killed in France in 1918. Chris had 3 children, 2 sons, Reginald, named after the brother, and Henry, and an unnamed daughter who tragically died with her mother at birth. Chris was told to give up his 2 young sons for adoption, but he didn't. Instead, he and his extended family raised them in the same spirit he'd been taught, to face adversity with courage and to serve. Both young Reg Saunders and Henry, who was also known as Harry, answered the call when their time came. Harry was working with his father when he enlisted. He was killed in action in New Guinea in 1942. His father, Chris, heard the news just days after he had received Harry's last letter. Young Reg was working as a timber cutter. He said he enlisted out of pride in those that went before him and love of his country. In 1941, Reg and his men were stranded in Greece. For 11 months, he lived rough and evaded capture with the help of local families. He made it back to Australia and continued to serve. 70 years later, Reg's daughter, Glenda Humes, went to Greece to thank the families that had kept her father alive. They sheltered and fed Reg, putting their own lives at risk. To me, this is an Australian family that lived the Anzac values upon which we reflect today, and that are chiselled in stone at the Isharava Memorial on the Kokoda track: courage, endurance, mateship and sacrifice. Service comes in many forms and from every variety of family that makes up our wonderful country. On behalf of all of those in our country, I thank our veterans and share with them my deep appreciation for service. I thank the families who have made serving in the Australian Defence Force possible. Australian families have proven time and again during the history of our young country that we can take the good and the bad with grace and courage. On the 25th of April, I invite everyone to take a moment to pause as we remember the service and sacrifice of families across this great southern land. Although we may not be able to march together this Anzac Day, our veterans and their families are in our thoughts. During the corona pandemic, please stay safe, take care of each other, lest we forget.